listening to the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast with Johnny Slopes
top 3 to 5 pick next year.
and Camilla.
For the value you could have gotten at Ryan at.
I almost had 5,000 yards, but no, you don't want me. What you're saying is Wayne Gallman is the Dustin Funches of running backs?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I guess you can put me down as for saying that.
We now bring you to the Fifth Down.
What is up, Fifth Downers? You're listening to the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Slokes. You can follow me on Twitter at Johnny Slokes. That's S-L-O-K-E-S. With me, as always, is my partner in crime, K-Mill.
What's up?
Today, we just wanted to give our final thoughts on the season before we get into to everything. I know many of you guys have already done your drafts, or maybe you got some drafts coming up. So it's the perfect time to be doing your draft, isn't that?
Yeah, this is draft season right here. I know last weekend was National Draft Weekend. We did ours a little late, so you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah, and I know that there's going to be that guy, you know, his name is Joe Smith. He's going to be that guy coming on our podcast today looking for, like, draft strategy and ADP tips and tricks. He's trying to cram, like, months' worth of research into 2 days because he has his draft in a couple days. Well, guess what, Mr. Joe Smith? Fuck you. You will get no draft strategy here. You will get no ADP. You will get zero football talk from us, because we're just going to talk about our hobbies all day. Fuck you, Joe Smith. You should have came prepared. No, I'm just kidding. We'll talk a little bit about some football today, though. This is going to be episode 16, show 73. You know, how did you feel? We just had our keeper league. We did our draft last night. How do you feel about it?
I got mixed feelings. There were some guys that I love, guys I'm not really too in love with. Apparently, according to Yahoo, I reached for Devontae Parker. I like where I got him, though. I love him. I love my wide receiver core. I got a PPR monster in Bilal Powell. I kept David Johnson from last year. I'm feeling really good about this team. Some question marks, but overall, I feel pretty solid. What about you, Johnny?
Apparently, everyone in the draft room laughed at me when I drafted Amir Abdullah. That's according to Yahoo. That's what they said. Everyone laughed. Bursted into the laughter when I drafted him.
I you know what? I read that too because I was reading everybody's like draft summaries on Yahoo because sometimes they're pretty laughable. But I actually don't mind where you got Amir Abdullah. I think that he could have he to me he's like going to be he's just a mystery this year to me. Like he could be so great, but yet he could just be a complete bust. You know, he's just that enigma.
I don't think he'll bust. I think that maybe he might be a little bit, what's to say? I think that he will get plenty of work. It's what he does with the work that will determine how well Abdullah does this year. I'm a little bit worried because I don't think he's going to get a lot of red zone work. I don't think he's going to get a ton of passes, but he should get, I don't know, about 40, 45. I mean, you got to think they're probably going to want to use Theo Riddick in the slot more this year. Theo Riddick's not going away. I mean, he was averaging like 5.5 catches last year, so I mean, he's not going away. Luckily, I have both of them on my team.
Well, and yeah, I was going to say that's another saving grace is that you have both of them on your team. And the thing is, like with Theo Riddick being a PPR monster, you know, in most cases, you didn't like reach for him or anything like that. It wasn't like, I have to handcuff Abdullah. You made two solid picks with those guys.
No, it completely happened on accident because I got like Theo Riddick in like real late, like 10th, 11th round.
Yeah,
it didn't happen like on purpose. I didn't say, yes, got to have the entire Detroit backfield. No, it wasn't like that. It was just like, well.
Oh, I know. But you did piss me off with it because I was going to take Theo Riddick with my next pick, and I unfortunately had the pleasure of being behind Johnny Slopes for the entire draft, and that really sucked because he took a lot of my players, like C.J. Anderson.
No, they're not. They're not your players. They're my players. I drafted them.
Hey, fuck you, man. But in all seriousness, though, I know that you didn't reach for him, or you were like, oh yeah, because you got Theo Riddick really late, and I was like, man, he's still sitting there. I was like, I want him. But in all honesty, like if say Amir Abdullah completely falls flat, you know, you have Theo Riddick, who's most likely, he won't be a bell cow, but he's still there, you know. He's going to see an uptick in volume if, you know, Abdullah's not there. So I think either way you're going to come out of that deal looking pretty solid.
I heard some rumors about you, K-Mill. I heard that although you might not be that good at fantasy football, that you're like the MJ of barbecue. Is this correct?
Barbecue.
You're like the MJ of barbecue?
Yeah, I dabble.
Do you have like any special recipes you want to tell the fifth downers about?
Not really. I mean, I'm really not. Yeah, you're putting me on the spot. I'm really not a recipe kind of guy, though. I kind of just wing it. I'm like, fuck it. Usually just throw some Sweet Baby Ray's on there. They end up tasting pretty good. I mean, you've had my cooking before. I kind of just wing it, and then I prepare something fucking awesome. That's what I do.
I thought the special ingredient was alcohol, because it seems like every time I do end up eating with you, there's some kind of alcohol involved, and I think you just get me drunk to where I don't have to taste the food as much, and that's your secret. That's
usually the strategy. You get the audience drunk enough, and then everything is going to taste good to them. You can burn the
food. Yeah,
because
everything tastes good when you're drunk,
Exactly, because you're not even tasting the food. You're just like, hey, fuck, I got alcohol belly. I'm hungry. I need to eat, so I don't care if this shit's burnt. I'm going to eat it.
Let's get into some news and note.
All right.
Now we were just talking about our draft. Le'Veon Bell is back in action. They're thinking about giving him a pretty heavy workload in Week 1. They're talking about 30 carries against Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to definitely be in for a heavy workload. I heard, though, that his first practice back, he said he was, quote-unquote, a little bit winded. However, I wouldn't worry too much about that. He's just been, along the layoff. I thought it was pretty humorous. He apparently applied for a job at Dairy Queen because he was jobless. He wanted to troll the Steelers for giving a franchise deal. And so I thought that was pretty funny. He applied for a job at Dairy Queen. I didn't hear about
that. He applied for Dairy Queen? Does he have like some special ice cream scooping abilities that we don't know about?
I guess so, man. He's got a 99.9 rating on Madden, but then here's the thing, he goes to Dairy Queen and he's got a fucking 99.9 ice cream scooping ability. But yeah, he did that on his Twitter. He like trolled the Steelers and he was like, "Oh, I'm jobless now. I got to get a job somewhere."
That's funny. This is probably, I think this is like the third year in a row I've had Le'Veon Bell. I'm not saying like I'm a fan or anything, but I'm hoping
that he
just balls the fuck. I just hope he balls the fuck out this year.
I mean, if you think of like what he did last season, and then instead of compressing or like losing those 4 games, at the start of last year, and you put it over an entire season, I mean, it's going to be monster. If he can replicate what he did in 12 games last year.
If we're just going off of last year's numbers and all that, and if you're going to project Le'Veon Bell this year, if I had to project him, I'd project him at 16 games, which means if I'm projecting him at 16 games, I'm probably projecting him to outscore David Johnson. I mean, I know David Johnson's right there with him, but it just seemed like he had a little bit more yards a game. And the one thing that David Johnson has in his favor is the touchdowns, which he scored, I think, 16 rushing touchdowns last year. You got to think that's going to come down a little bit too. So got to put everything into perspective.
Yeah, no, and I definitely agree with you. I think that because you look at, both of their bodies of work, and they were both impressive seasons. But if you really look at Le'Veon and what he did in those 12 games last year, I mean, it's downright impressive. Like it was outright ridiculous. I mean, for my dynasty team, he was scoring me like 45 points a game. It was ridiculous. And I think that if Le'Veon can like do that over an entire season, and get those 4 games back and not miss any injuries, suspensions, whatever it may be, I think that it's definitely within the realm of possibility that he'd have a better fantasy season than David Johnson. Even though I love David Johnson, I definitely see it happening.
Now, there's 2 things to look at with Le'Veon Bell. Last year, down the stretch, they funneled him the ball. I think he was averaging over 30 touches a game towards the end of last year. Obviously, that's not something that he can sustain throughout the whole year. You can't sustain 30 touches a game throughout the whole year. That's just not going to be what Le'Veon Bell's going to do. But you got to think it's going to be at least 25, right?
Oh yeah, I mean easily. I think because there's talk that David Johnson's going to get that he's going to get a 30 touch per game workload, which I personally I have not seen any running back sustain that, so I don't know.
I'm just saying, if he gets that kind of workload, all it does is just add more like risk for injury, So it's one thing you do got to worry about. You don't want to cram too much work in there. You'd rather them just be nice and efficient with the ball, which they both are,
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about the Brock Osweiler experiment going back over to Denver? They re-signed him after he got cut by the Browns. How do you feel about that?
I've kind of wrestled with this a couple of days, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I'll bet this is just John Elway kind of throwing shade at him, because now he instead of signing,
free, bitch.
instead of signing him for $16 million like the Texans did, last year, now they get him back for the league minimum. I mean, that's hilarious to me. And look, and they get a guy that already knows Mike McCoy's playbook. So it's like, you get a competent backup that already kind of is aware of the playbook. So I think it's good either way. I could care less. And plus, Paxton Lynch, who obviously has been a turd thus far in his career, hasn't shown us anything, and he's got an injury to his throwing shoulder. So I think this just does, better for Denver. You get a competent backup, and I like it.
I think that Denver, they wanted Brock Osweiler all along. They just never wanted to pay him the money. Now they found that opportunity to get him for cheap, and like, all right, you're our third stringer, second stringer, or you're on the team. Congratulations.
Yeah, I know, and that's what it was, and I like that, because Denver did want to keep him. Like, the fans really wanted him to stay, but the thing is, they could never match Houston's deal. I mean, the money that they guaranteed him was just ridiculous, and obviously they proved that was a huge mistake.
Mike Glennon, he's getting the starting nod for the Chicago Bears. What do you think the Bears see in Mike Glennon that said, "Oh yeah, you're good. You're the starter. You're better than Trubisky. You're the starter"?
I think it's a win-win for the Browns, not the Browns, the Bears, because let's say that Mike Glennon does really well, then they'll have made the right decision all along. But then here's the thing: if he squanders, and flounders, I mean, it's a lost season for the Browns anyway, so they might as well see what they have in Mike Glennon and say he lights the world on fire. Then he's good trade fodder. They can trade him to any other team that's needy for a quarterback, and they already have Trubisky waiting in the wings. So either way to me, I think that this is a win for them.
I like how you keep calling the Bears the Browns. That's nice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hold on. They're equally as shitty, okay?
I just wanted you to acknowledge your mistake.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I get it. They don't want to rush Trubisky in there, but from what I seen from Glennon in the preseason, he looked dog shit awful. I'm sorry, I had to say it like that. Cover your ears, kids. But yes, he looked like dog shit. I don't know. I think it's just gonna get. All it's gonna do is get him a better draft pick, I guess. So.
Agreed.
Odell Beckham is not practicing today. Dun 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 dun. Are you worried about him at all? Do you think he's gonna miss any time?
You know what? I really don't think so. If he misses like a week or so. I mean, he's still in for a huge fantasy campaign, so I really wouldn't worry about it. If that's your reasoning for not wanting to draft him, I don't see that logic.
Andrew Luck could not be out for 1 week or for week one. He did manage to get off the PUP list though, so he won't miss 6 weeks, but he won't be back week one.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he said he might miss week one. No, they officially ruled him out today, and Scott Tolzien is going to be the starter.
Yeah,
you know what?
I picked him up in the Superflex. I picked up Tolzien in the Superflex.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Doesn't it sound like an awful? It sounds like an awful decision though. But I actually don't have a second starting quarterback, so that's where I'm at right now.
Did you hear though about them trading for Jacoby Brissett? Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that.
Yeah,
I picked up Tolzien before that even happened, though. I picked up Tolzien like weeks ago.
Yeah, Well, yeah, they picked up Jacoby Brissett, who's most likely not ready to play Week 1. I mean, he's not. They've already told everybody that Scott Tolzien is going to be the starter. But
I think the more interesting thing is, though, that Dorsett went to New England in that deal. And, New England keeps gathering all these wide receivers now. How do you see them using Philip Dorsett? Do you think they're going to use him more of like a field stretcher, kind of like how they tried to use Chris Hogan down the sideline last year? Because I think they might try to move Hogan inside the slot where Edelman was at. And they're obviously going to – I think they're going to keep Cooks on the outside. Is Dorsett the other outside guy?
I would think so at this point because it really fits his skill set. I mean, he's just a really fast guy. He's a speed demon. So, I think that he's a good field stretcher. I think that's probably where the Patriots are going to use him.
Yeah. I thought it was an interesting trade. It definitely made it sound like Luck was going to be on the PUP list for good, though, didn't it? Because that's my first initial thought when I seen the trade. I was like, uh-oh, Luck's not going to be ready. And it looks like he's not going to be ready for at least Week 1. But at least he's off the PUP list. Yeah,
thank God. I mean, man, I think that the culture is such a poorly run organization. Andrew Luck won't win I'm calling it now. Here's my hot take. Andrew Luck will not win a Super Bowl while he's with the Colts because he'll be a Colt for life, but he'll never win a Super Bowl because they're such a poorly managed organization.
I did not want to put that kind of luck on him. Eric Swoop, the tight end for the Colts, he is placed on IR with no designation to return. This saddens me. This was my deep sleeper at tight end this year, and now he's gone. Like, who knows if he'll be back? But
there goes that.
He has a better skill set than Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle, he runs slower than offensive linemen. Eric Swoop played basketball. But he's out.
That automatically makes him an amazing tight end because he played basketball.
Isn't that I thought that's how it worked.
According to the announcers, that's how it works.
No, but to be all serious though, I thought Eric Swoop had the tools to be able to break out this year, but I found out all he had the tools was to get hurt.
Yeah.
Jonathan Williams got cut by Buffalo. Buffalo was just getting rid of everyone. Why did they get rid of Jonathan Williams? What was wrong with them, Keemil? What was wrong with Jonathan Williams? Why did they cut him?
I don't know. They're making a lot of puzzling moves this offseason, and I really don't understand what they're doing. It sounds like they're like slashing payroll left and right. And I think that honestly, if they could find a trade partner for LaShawn McCoy, they're going to do it. Because I mean, at this point, he's all they have left. And Tyrod.
Let's just for a second here say that they're not going to trade the McCoy. McCoy's going to stay in Buffalo for the season. Are you at all concerned about LaShawn McCoy on Buffalo, a team that looks like they want to just tank, and they're getting rid of all their star power? Tyrod Taylor might not be ready Week 1.
Well, here's the thing. You can look at an argument for both sides here. You can be like, oh yeah, they're just going to stack the boxes against him, which is probably true. But the thing is that he's a more talented back than Todd Gurley is, and that's what Todd Gurley was seeing a lot of last year. And honestly, LaShawn McCoy, I think he can overcome that, and he's going to see such insane volume because they have nobody else. So I would say for me personally, he would upgrade on a lot of my draft boards. And if people are looking down on him, I have no problem taking LaShawn McCoy on any team.
All right. Do you want to get into some of our personal loves and hate for this year? We'll kind of go through each round and kind of talk about which players that we like each round. Does it sound like a good idea?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let me pull up my list here. The first round, I tried to keep most rounds. I tried to keep it between 2 to 3 players. But what when you're in the first round, what is the one player that you either you love in the first round, or you think, wow, this is the guy that's going to win me the league? Obviously, a lot of people are going to pick the top 3 picks. I tried to stay away from those.
Yeah, so I'll go outside the box because everybody's going to know I'm going to say David Johnson, and I won't do that. So I'm going to say in the first round, my must-have is Mike Evans. He's going at a relative value from guys like, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham. I try to stay away from the marquee names. And he's a guy that's just going to, see way – I mean, last year was amazing. I believe he led the league in receptions last year. I'd have to double-check that. But
that was Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, okay. Oh, my bad. But he had an insane season last year and monster games left and right. And now he has a field stretcher like Djax, so he's not getting double covered every time now. They have to game plan around that. I think that Mike Evans is in for a great year, and I think he's going to cement himself in that top four, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, and then Mike Evans. He's going to be in that conversation too. They're all right there.
And Mike Evans is actually one of my loves in the first round. He's going as wide receiver 4, 107. He's at the 107, and it's like he basically just falls into your lap right there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes him so lovely. You're just getting a great player that just falls right into your lap. I really like that. He's a guy that in 2015 he only had 3 touchdowns, and a lot of people are off of him. And you've seen why you don't run away from talent, because he had double-digit touchdowns last year. Like you said, they did add Deshaun Jackson. He's probably going to be the field stretcher for a team that just led the league in deep balls last year, which in theory most people are saying this is going to open up the intermediate area for Mike Evans where he can operate. You're probably not going to see as many deep chuck it balls to Mike Evans where you're just going to throw it up and have him go grab it. You're not going to see that as much. You're still going to see it. You're just not going to see it as much as last year. So you'll see some big plays from Mike Evans taken away by Deshaun Jackson. That's one concern, but it opens up so much more for him other than that. You know what I mean?
Right, definitely.
My other receiver that I love Julio Jones, obviously. The reason why I like Julio Jones the most, though, I feel like it's almost impossible to overdraft Julio Jones. Like, I would feel okay if you took Julio Jones over even a guy like Le'Veon Bell. I would feel all right with that. I'm not saying I would do that personally, but I'm just saying if you did that, that's good, because I would have Le'Veon Bell.
I would definitely do that too. I mean, Julio Jones is a definite love for me this year. I love what he represents. And I honestly think, like last year, he had his injury concerns, but even with those, look at the numbers he put up. I mean, come on, people. And there were some games last year where they were absolutely a monster. They won, some games that he had last year single-handedly won you weeks.
I know there was since last. I've been going back and forth on this since last year between Julio Jones, Odell Beckham. Who do I like more? I always flip-flop. And right now, currently, I do have Julio Jones above Odell Beckham, and it would have happened even if Odell wasn't hurt. It still would have happened because I have a new philosophy on Julio Jones. My thing is, last year Atlanta had an amazing offense, and everyone's thinking regression. But no one realizes that Julio Jones last year did the bare minimum in a record-setting offense. He did the bare minimum. He only had like 80, 85 catches. He had I think 1,200 yards. He didn't have double-digit touchdowns, which he never does.
Yeah.
But I think that this could be the year with the changing, with the Shanahan's gone. They're changing everything up. If the run game struggles a little bit more, and if Atlanta finds themselves in some negative game scripts where they are losing some more games because they won a lot of games last year, if they play in some games where they are losing, who do you think the passing game is going to go to? It's going to go to Julio Jones. He has the potential for 1,800 yards, and this very well could be the season where he does have double-digit touchdowns.
Damn, that is a hot take. But I like it. I can totally agree. I can see where your logic's at on that.
I'm not saying he's going to get 1,800 yards. I'm saying he has that upside because he's done that before.
Oh, no, definitely, and I agree with you. I definitely agree with you.
Yeah. One running back, though, this is literally like my running back to target in the first round. That's not like Le'Veon Bell or David Johnson. My running back to target in the first round is actually Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon,
really?
Yes, Melvin. If you're picking at 8 or 9, I like that pick with Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is that back that has little to no competition back there. He plays in a high-powered offense that gets into the red zone often. Now, I know last year he had a lot of short red zone plunges, but I think that's something that can continue this year because it's just the type of offense that they are, you know. I like him more than I like him more than Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, I could see where you're coming from on that one. I tend to be a little opposite. So for my running back that you need to target in the first round is going to be a guy that I was just talking about, LeSean McCoy. I think that he's going to see some insane volume this year, and honestly, that's going to be your selling point with him is that he is the Buffalo offense. You want this guy. He's going to be punching in every single red zone score. He's going to be breaking off big runs. I mean, this is the guy you want.
And LeSean McCoy, I'm actually quite opposite. McCoy, he makes my hate list in the first round. I feel like, especially because of where he's going in the first round, he's going as almost a top 5 pick at this point because people are scared. You know, Zeke might not be there, so they're scared. They're like, holy shit, I need to get me a stud running back. And it's pushed McCoy up the board. The thing about McCoy is that, to me, is a scary pick. He's 29 years old. And like you said, they don't have anyone else. He will be getting a heavy workload, that's for sure. To me, that scares me more than anything else because he's 29 years old. The injury risk is up there for him. He has a lot of tread on the tires as it is going into this season. What if the wheels just fall off? You know, it's scary. It's scary to me, especially when there's nobody else. There's nobody else there to take the load off of him. I mean, how many touchdowns do you actually see McCoy scoring this year? You know, like, I don't see this being a good offense. Why is he going as a top 5 pick? He belongs back there with McCoy, back there with Gordon, back there with Freeman. I think people are overreacting a little bit with him.
You know, I do agree with you on the elevated injury risk because he's going to be a bell cow this year, like no question. And that volume is really hard to find in a lot of players. But LeSean McCoy, to me, represents a guy who the last couple seasons, he hasn't had a season-ending injury. I mean, this guy is as durable as they come. And I honestly think that this year he could score 12 touchdowns. I think it could happen.
Well, he had 13. He had 13 last year, so that's another reason. I think that his touchdown should come down. It's not normal to score 13 touchdowns.
No, and it's not. But I'm saying that it's in the realm of possibility for him because he, like I said, he is the Buffalo offense. You know, like there's nobody else. You know, it's going to be either him or Tyrod Taylor scoring touchdowns all year.
You're not, and you said you're not worried about like the teams loading up the box against them. You're okay with that?
I personally, I think he's a more talented back than a lot of guys that get, you know, boxes stacked against them and they can't do anything. I think that LeSean McCoy, you know, he's a guy that overcomes it. It's kind of like with the Vikings when all they had was Adrian Peterson. He found a way to do it because he was talented enough back.
Jones-Drew.
Yeah, exactly. The talented backs will find a way to get around the stack boxes.
Is there any players in the first round that you're looking to avoid?
You know, it's actually really hard for me because, you know, the first round, it's really hard to just pinpoint somebody. I feel like if I was going to avoid somebody, and I might get a lot of hate for this, because honestly, like, you know, I like Devontae Freeman, I like A.J. Green, I like Mike Evans, I like, you know, hell, it's between Melvin Gordon and Jordy Nelson for me because I even like Jay Ajayi. But, you know, I would have to say Melvin Gordon because I just feel like we're opposites on this one. I feel like, if anything, Melvin Gordon's probably going to regress this year. I don't really know what kind of team San Diego is going to be. I definitely like their receivers and their offense, but to me, I just don't see him being able to put up those touchdown numbers again. I just see that being very hard to replicate for him because, you know, I haven't really seen a trend with him yet.
There's just no one there. He's already shown that he can catch the ball pretty decently. So I think that it wouldn't surprise me if he got like 50 to 60 catches this year, to be honest.
Yeah, but here my logic here is that there's a lot of people that I love in the first round, and if I have the choice of Melvin Gordon, Mike Evans, or A.J. Green, I think I'm going to take either Mike Evans or A.J. Green or really anybody else. Like, honestly, if you pair anybody from the first round and you tell me him or him, I'm going to say not Melvin Gordon.
I mean, if I'm looking just based on their offenses, based on their offenses alone, I think that Melvin Gordon could score 10 touchdowns.
I see it in the realm of possibility, but with you look at what you're getting from other players, and that's what I really look at. I'm like, okay, Melvin Gordon, I think he's going to have a good year this year, but there's just so many players that I like more than Melvin Gordon, if that makes sense.
I wouldn't be surprised if Melvin Gordon finished as RB3 this year, right behind Bell and David Johnson. Let's go over to the second round. Now, this is the round where, I don't like this round. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I hate it too. It's a minefield.
Lots of running backs that, to me, they're on poor offenses. A lot of them tend to not catch the ball prolifically. And it just makes you think, if they're not catching the ball a lot and they're playing on a bad offense, which means they're probably not going to score a lot of touchdowns, why are these backs going in the second round then? Like, why don't they belong in, the fourth or fifth round? To me, guys like Jordan Howard and Dalvin Cook don't belong in the second round. They belong in, the third, fourth, fifth round because, to me, they're not going to outscore any receiver in that round. Jordan Howard going as RB8, beginning of the second round. Todd Gurley, RB10, middle of the second round. Dalvin Cook, RB12, back to the 12th round, or back to the second round. I want none of that garbage. It's like a second round is just like a landmine of running backs. Like, pick your poison.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's just because it's due to the hype, that everybody's like, oh, I need to get a 3-down back, so now they know Dalvin Cook is, a 3-down back. They're like, oh crap, I gotta reach for him, This is another thing that I know we say it a lot. We probably oversay this: know your league, know your scoring system, blah blah blah. But also, something we don't say enough of is pay attention to trends throughout the season or throughout the years. I mean, think back in 2015, it was the running back apocalypse. All the running backs went down. So what happened last year? The popular strategy was a zero RB. Running backs obviously had a resurgence in scoring last year. They scored so many touchdowns, and everyone's like, oh my God, now I need to get, it seems like every year people, instead of just adjusting accordingly, they over-adjust. Because last year, everyone wanted to go zero RB because running backs were dead. And now last year, running backs were scoring, and then people are over-adjusting again, and they're overdrafting these running backs. I cannot find an early round value at running back. They're all overvalued, in my opinion, by at least a round and a half. They really are.
That's my little tangent about the second round running backs. They're being overvalued by at least a round and a half. Take yourself a wide receiver. I love the wide receivers in the second round. I mean, Amari Cooper, 207, Doug Baldwin, 208, even Brandon Cooks at 209. I'd rather have all of those over any of the running backs in the second round. I'm staying away. I'm sorry, unless they magically, play for a better team. No thanks.
Yeah, I would say same because, I was very surprised to see how Dalvin Cook has risen, and I get it. He's going to be in the 3-down role this year. But to me, it's and I get that if they, Minnesota faces.
I don't think he's going to be in a 3-down role. I don't think he's a 3-down running back. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And another thing too is I was just so surprised that he shot up so far. I'm just like, why Dalvin Cook in the second round? But you're right. And every year it seems like it just switches over. It's like, oh, zero WR, strategy, zero RB strategy. It's like, oh, and it's based off of what happened in the past NFL season, and everybody just over adjusts for it. And you're absolutely right. I totally agree with that. And
honestly, because everyone over adjusted for the strategy, everyone's taking these running backs earlier. It just makes the strategy, our zero RB strategy, work even better this year. This is the year to go zero RB. There's value at the receiver based pretty much every round. You could do it.
Yeah, most definitely.
I've put together some pretty sick teams, so using that strategy this year, it's definitely a way to go.
I would agree.
I mean, is there any players that you're really on in the second round, you're really targeting?
Yeah, I think in most cases, and I did it last night, I was able to pull it off, was Doug Baldwin. I love him in the second round, especially where he's going. You can get him with a late second rounder, and what he represents is, just multiple touchdowns this year. I think that he's a guy that could score 10 touchdowns this year, over 1,000 yards receiving. I think this is an absolute stud that you can be getting in the second round.
What's awesome about Doug Baldwin is I view him the last 2 years. So I won't even say I view him. This is just the facts. The last 2 years, Doug Baldwin's been a top 10 wide receiver, and you could still draft him as your second wide receiver. You could pair him. You could pair Doug Baldwin up with a guy like Mike Evans or Julio Jones, or even if you can get him late enough, you could pair him up with Antonio Brown. You're living in heaven,
Oh yeah.
Especially if where you're getting him at the back of the second, you're pairing him up with another wide receiver, and you're coming right back around in the third, and that's when you can grab your running back if you want.
Yeah, exactly, and then you're not reaching for one.
Yeah, so that's where that's why I do like I have Doug Baldwin as one of my loves. I do love him in this situation. Same thing goes for Brandon Cooks because he's in the same situation. He's a guy that can be your second wide receiver, but put up wide receiver one numbers. I know you're not as big on Brandon Cooks, but this was always going to happen, whether Edelman tore his ACL or not. This was always going to happen to where he was just going to have a good season. It was just they're not going to trade for him for no reason,
Yeah, no, and I agree. I just, I'm more of like I want to wash my hands of him, So now I definitely do love Brandon Cooks more that Edelman is out for the season. I think that's great. It does great things for his value. But the thing is, it just seems like New England is just loading up on talent just everywhere you go. Like the running back situation's a fucking mess because they have too many bodies, and then the same with the wide receiver position now. They got Philip Dorsett. It's just like so many bodies. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do with that. So it's like, to me, there's so many other people that I'd rather have in the second round, like, for instance, Michael Thomas, Dez Bryant. I'd rather have those guys over Brandon Cooks.
Who would you rather have over Brandon Cooks?
Dez Bryant and Michael Thomas.
Well, Michael Thomas is going before him anyways, but I think that's a little bit crazy. You'd take Dez over him. I think that's a little bit crazy. I think you're a little bit higher on Dez than I am, though, maybe, because
I'm actually
I like
really
that.
not.
I like Dez and everything, but I think I would have to put Dez. I'd have to put him behind Michael Thomas. I'd have to put him behind Mari Cooper. I'd have to put Dez behind pretty much every second-round receiver besides maybe T.Y. Hilton. Even though T.Y. Hilton, I think, probably fell to like the third round by now.
Yeah, he definitely has. So I'm looking at a chart right now, and he definitely has. But no, and I'm not. So Dez Bryant is probably my second. I'm putting it as my two least favorite receivers from the second round are Dez Bryant and Brandon Cooks. I would rather have Amari Cooper. I'd rather have Michael Thomas. All those people and Doug Baldwin before I would have either of those guys. And if I had to pick between Brandon Cooks and Dez Bryant, I would probably take Dez Bryant, honestly.
Is there any players that you're trying to avoid in the second round? I know I touched on a lot of them.
Oh yeah, well I mean the most glaring one is Todd Gurley. I don't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole in any league. I honestly would rather, I would rather like reach for a running back than draft Todd Gurley. I think if I absolutely for some reason felt like I needed a running back in the second round and he was the best available, I think I might be tempted to reach for either Ezekiel Elliott, who's facing a 6-game suspension, or fucking go for Isaiah Crowell, who's right now typically going as a third rounder. Or, you got Leonard Fournette there, who I'm actually really high on this year, so you could do that as well.
Man, you really don't like Todd Gurley if you're taking, Fournette and Crowell over him, huh?
Yeah, I hate him. I think that I just hate the Rams, dude. I hate him. I think that team is just garbage.
I mean, did you see what the Rams look like without Cooper Kupp on the field?
No, I didn't.
Seems like when Cooper Kupp is on the field, it seems like Jared Goff just wants to throw Cooper Kupp the ball on this 3-yard little in route. But then when Cooper Kupp's not on the field, he decides that he just wants to turn the ball over.
Yeah, I guess that he just loves those little. He's turning into Brady 2.0. He just loves those little white receivers.
No, he just likes to not be good at football.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Rams can realize exactly what they gave up by drafting a guy that's horrible.
Let's go over to the third round. The third round we have. Well, no, to me, the third round is a lot like the second round. I don't like it. It's another round where I try to avoid the running backs. The running backs, to me, in the third round are still overvalued. I don't want to overvalue. I don't want to overpay for a running back. So it's another round where I'm avoiding the running backs. You know what I noticed about the third round? Here's how bad the third round sucks. The third round sucks so bad that 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends are both being drafted in the third round. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Travis Kelce, and Gronk all being drafted in the third round because the third round just doesn't have a lot of like surefire talent. It has a lot of talent, but there's a lot of question marks behind that talent.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I really wrestled here, and this is why I had to, because, man, it's a minefield, too, even for, like, you know, receivers, because you got Allen Robinson there, who I'm not touching, and, you know, you got, oh, man, yeah, just so many bad names. Carlos Hyde, I don't even want to touch Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, Isaiah Crowell, he's being drafted as RB14. There is no way in hell that he is outdoing that ADP. You're drafting Isaiah Crowell at his absolute ceiling at RB14, and I don't think that's a good price. You know, I'd rather have a guy like Keenan Allen, who I know some people are off with because they think he's injury prone, which he's not. But I'd rather have him at wide receiver 15 than Crowell at RB14 because I know Allen can actually return wide receiver 15 numbers. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I was more so overstating my hatred for Todd Gurley on why I would take Isaiah Crowell because I really just don't want to touch. I'm
saying Gurley. I wouldn't even touch Crowell in the third round, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that he's definitely. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that these running backs are definitely getting overvalued. I'd rather have a guy like Kareem Hunt than Isaiah Crowell, and I know that's a little bit of a reach, but honestly, he's going to have an Andy Reid offense. He's going to have a good season, I think.
Isaiah Crowell, he had his yards per carry was unusually high last year. It was like 4.8 or something like that. It was behind a line that wasn't even that good, and I know that they made a lot of improvements behind that offensive line this year. But, you know, yards per carry is definitely a stat that varies a lot from year to year. I mean, he could very well go back to averaging like 4.2 yards a carry, and you just wasted like a third-round pick. And, you know, this is still a team that's going to lose a lot of games. Who knows how many carries he's actually going to get? Like, what, he's going to get like 220, 225 carries? Like, that's not going to cut it in the third round.
Yeah, I you know, conventional wisdom would agree with you on that one. But there's really no running back that I like here. Maybe at like the
I like McCaffrey. I like McCaffrey in the third round.
I do too, and I also like Marshawn Lynch to an extent. I feel like, you know, maybe he's older, he's coming out of retirement. I don't know. I have a lot of questions about him, but honestly, I would feel more comfortable drafting him than I would Dalvin Cook, Lamar Miller, Carlos Hyde, you know, Isaiah Crowell. Kareem Hunt, I think that he's the other one that I feel really good about Kareem Hunt. I know that it seems to a lot of people like he's a reach there, but I mean,
you're taking him in the third round?
I'm just saying I know that he seems like a reach. I wouldn't necessarily want to take him in the third round, but I'm just saying he's going to be a good piece for fantasy teams this year.
I mean, I almost feel like if you want Kareem Hunt, you're probably going to have to take him with like a late third round pick. Because I don't feel like he's going to make it to the fourth round very much. Whereas I feel like Kareem Hunt should go in the fourth round, but I feel like he's going to end up going late third. I think he ended up going in the middle of the third round in one of my podcast leagues that I'm in. So I mean that's kind of like right around where he's going. So if you want him, you're going to have to spend a third round pick for him.
Yeah, you're going to pay for him, but I really do think that you know, being a bell cow in any Reid offense does mean something in this day and age.
I mean, do you think he's going to lose any passing down work to Charmander West? It seemed like that was happening in the rehearsal game that I watched.
I feel like it could happen, but I don't think it's like absolute, you know, 3-down bell cow back, and he's one of the few that I actually do like.
Yeah, historically, Andy Reid's offense is a running back producing offense. It's usually an offense that's going to produce an RB1. Let's go over to the fourth round. We're not going to cover too many more rounds, but the fourth round is finally you're out of the running back landmine, and you're in an area where I feel comfortable about some of these guys.
Right.
In the fourth round, guys, I really like. I like Martavius Bryant because I'm a risk taker. You could probably get him in the fourth or the fifth round. But if you want him in the league that I'm in, I'm probably gonna take him in the fourth, like late fourth round.
Not bad.
Who's a guy that you're all on top of in the fourth round?
A guy that I'm in love with in the fourth round. There's a lot of guys that I really do like here. I definitely like C.J. Anderson where he's going because I think that he's one of the few running backs that's actually getting undervalued here. So a lot of them, we were just talking about them getting overvalued. He's a guy that's going a lot later because people are uncertain. They're like, oh, Jamal Charles, Devontae Booker, what are we going to do here? And I really think that people are just really freaking out about nothing. I think that C.J. Anderson's going to be just fine. He's a good pick here. Another guy I do like as well here. I agree with you on Martavius Bryant, but I won't bore you to death on that. I like Christian McCaffrey. He seems to be going here quite a bit, and I also like Keenan Allen. He's going around here, early fourth, maybe back into the third, depending. Those are some guys I really like, though.
Another guy I really love in the fourth round because he has 90 catch ability is Golden Tate. He's going in the back of the fourth round, and you can end up being like your second or third wide receiver, and he's going to be getting 90 to 100 catches. That's beautiful. That's the kind of plays that I look for that's why I love him. A couple of guys I'm not on is Tyreek Hill going in the beginning of the fourth round is wide receiver 18 is fucking stupid. To me, that's dumb.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Think about that. Wide receiver 18. You honestly think Tyreek Hill is going to finish as wide receiver 18 or better? I don't. I could probably name 30 receivers off the top of my head that are better than Tyreek Hill. I'm sorry guys, but that's just the way I feel. Another guy I'm not taking in the fourth round is Kelvin Benjamin, wide receiver 22. My hatred of Kelvin Benjamin. I actually traded for him last year thinking that he wasn't a bad player, but then he reminded me that he's just a bad athlete. It's just simply who he is. He's a bad athlete. He's a classic tweener. He should have been a tight end coming out of college. I know one of the guys that made my love list that you named in the fourth round was C.J. Anderson. Because when I checked this a couple of days ago, his ADP was at the beginning of the fifth round. So I put him in the fifth round. I really do like him. I think he just needs to stay healthy. A lot of people are off him because he doesn't stay healthy.
Yeah, I also think that a lot of people, the drivers behind the ADPs and stuff like that are guys that, watch NFL on TV, but they don't necessarily know about fantasy football, because they're guys that, they see Tyreek Hill scoring all these touchdowns, and they, freak out, and they're like, I have to have him on my fantasy team, and it's just come on, man, Tyreek Hill is not a league winner. Yeah, I'm the same way on him. I absolutely hate Tyreek Hill. He's horrible. I would never in my life draft him. I would rather reach for somebody else than him. I'd rather, go fucking get Jordan Reed than him. I hate this guy so fucking much. I hate that there's hype around him. I hate that there's still hype around him. I just hate that guy. Anyway. Yeah, I really do. I think that's absolutely fucking stupid. I don't understand what people are thinking by wanting to draft Tyreek Hill way this early. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Another guy that I hate here is Allen Robinson. I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want anything to do with Jacksonville except for maybe Leonard.
You don't hate Allen Robinson. You just hate Blake Bortles.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I hate the idea of an Allen Robinson pick. I just hate Blake Bortles, and it's not – I'm sorry, A-Rob, it's not you. It's your quarterback. Okay, it's your quarterback.
Yeah. Another guy that I love in the fifth round that you just took right before I was picking was Bilal Powell. He's going in the middle of the 5th round. RB23. He's going to be the leading receiver for the Jets this year. He's going to lead the team in reception. Say that slowly.
He's going to lead the league in reception. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he's going to lead his team in receptions.
No, I'm joking. Yeah, I was joking. He's going to lead his team in receptions. He will.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally the only reason why I like him. He's going to catch a ton of passes.
Yeah, very true. He's going to be a PPR monster for sure.
Yep. There's a lot of guys I love in the 5th round. I'm sorry. I also like Stephon Diggs. I also like Greg Olsen. You know, the two guys that I'm not really on in the 5th round is Jarvis Landry. His ADP has been falling out like a rock ever since the injury to Tannehill, and for good reason. I just don't see Cutler as a check it down type of guy. He's just going to dump it over the middle for 5 yards. I just don't see Cutler being that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I don't either.
That's why I'm not really on Jarvis Landry. You know, another guy, and I passed over him in our draft last night because I'm not a big fan of his, and it's not really because I think he's going to play bad. It's just that he's being drafted as quarterback 4. Matt Ryan, you know, his ADP is in the 5th round right now. That's why you got a good value on him last night. But if you got him in the 5th round, you didn't get a good value because he's going at quarterback 4. I just don't see him finishing as a top 5 guy this year. I'm sorry. I just don't see it, you know. That's why I went with Kirk Cousins over him. I have Kirk Cousins as my QB5. I don't have Matt Ryan as a top 5 quarterback, though.
No,
there's going to be a little bit of regression, you know. Nothing against it. He just had a way too good of a season last year.
Yeah, I agree. I'm totally into the regression. I agree that's going to happen. I wouldn't have got him last night if it wasn't for a value. I got him in, the 7th round, I think. And, I honestly hated you because I really wanted Kirk Cousins, and after you took him, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to wait on the quarterback because he was the guy I was really looking at when you took him. And then I was like, oh, I'll just wait for a quarterback then. And then Matt Ryan ended up falling to me, and I was like, all right, well, I like him here, you know. I'm not in love with it, but I definitely don't see him replicating an MVP season again. I just don't see it happening. But I think that he'll have a solid overall season. He's got too good of an offense not to. You know, he's got Julio Jones, he's got Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, you know, Taylor Gabriel. You know, there's just too much talent in this offense for him not to have a productive season. But I do agree with you. If you're getting him in the 5th round, way too early.
All right. We so far we talked about 5 rounds worth of players. Now, I want to just get a couple more players that you love in any round. It doesn't matter what round they are. These are players that you want to have on your team. You have to have them.
All right. Kind of put me on the spot here, but I think
is there a guy that you always target?
The guy that I've been targeting lately, and after we talked about it, I did a lot more research, and Rex Burkhead, I really like what he represents. He could be a lottery ticket in that New England offense, and to be honest, if he somehow is able to run out of that, you know, race as a dark horse and, you know, win the bell cow job, or, you know, just get the insane volume, I think that this could be just a real lottery ticket. You know, him or James White, I think, are really the dark horses that not a lot of people are looking at. Everybody's like, you know, they're like, you got to pay for Mike Gillislee. Well, you're getting Rex Burkhead or James White. You don't have to pay for them.
I think that people drafting James White and Dion Lewis, they're buying into a really big smoke screen right now. I know they named James White and Dion Lewis the co-starters of the backfield, but I mean, I'm sorry, I can't buy it. I cannot buy that story. When you think of the New England Patriots, you're thinking, who is going to run the ball in the interior of this offense? We know it's not going to be James White, and we know it's not going to be Dion Lewis. It's going to be either Gillislee or it's going to be Burkhead. And you pick Burkhead because Burkhead's going later. You don't have to spend a 5th round pick on Gillislee. You can take Burkhead in like the 11th or 12th round and be just fine. Like, at least you're taking a stab at it, but you're not taking an expensive one. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and I feel the same way about CJ Prosise because, you know, he could end up being a lottery ticket too. You know, you look at it, everybody's like, oh, is it going to be Lacy? Is it going to be, fucking Rawls. I don't like either of those guys, so I'm going to take the guy that you can get the latest and has the best chance of possibly getting like a 3-down roll uncontested. You know what I mean?
Another part with like drafting, like like backs that are in committees. We always talk about sometimes the best decision is to just draft running back that goes the latest. Well, not necessarily always. That's not always the best thing to do. Sometimes I like to look at their skill sets a little bit, and I look and see which back has the best skill set to completely take over the backfield. In Seattle, that's not Lacy. It's not Rolls. That would be C.J. Prosise. He has the best skill set to take over that backfield. And when you look at New England, you got Gilsey, who is more of like a one-dimensional thumper. You got a couple of pass catchers in White and Lewis. Burkhead's really the only back on that backfield that can do both, run the ball and catch the ball consistently. He might not be the best at either one, but he's the guy that can do both. And that, to me, he's versatile, and that's good. I like to look for those satellite plus backs that, they might just be pass catchers now, but they could evolve into a greater role, and those are types of picks that win you the league ultimately.
Yeah, and it really does. Yeah, you get those lottery picks. One more guy that I just do want to mention, though, is ever since the Smokin' Jay signing in Miami, Devontae Parker, man, he's going up in my draft boards. I don't care. Honestly, I think that he could finish the top 10 receiver this year. I think that that's definitely in the realm of possibility. It's a huge hot take. I know that. But I think that this guy, I just love the upside. Jay Cutler's a, throw it downfield type of passer, and it really fits Devontae Parker's skill set, and I think that he could be in for a big season this year.
Do you remember what we said about Devontae Parker last year when Adam Gase came to Miami? Do you remember what I said about Devontae Parker?
I don't remember, actually.
I said that Devontae Parker could be a guy that could get 80 catches and 1,200 yards and potentially double-digit touchdowns because of the way that Adam Gase likes to use his ex-receiver. And, it never came to fruition. But now there's a lot of familiarity to that in that offense over there with, Jay Cutler, Adam Gase. Now you got Devontae Parker, who is being compared by Jay Cutler to Alshon Jeffrey, saying that he's faster than Alshon Jeffrey. It makes it a little bit more fruitful, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. When he's making comments like that, it makes it seem real to me. And I really think that Devontae Parker could be the real deal this year. He could be a guy that you're getting as your third or fourth or fifth receiver, and he could potentially put up wide receiver 1 numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's definitely an explosive receiver. It'll all have to see it because we all know Jay Cutler likes to key in on one receiver, and hopefully that's Devontae Parker.
I hope.
I'm going to go into some deeper picks that I really love that I try to target in a lot of my drafts. I like Cole Beasley. I know he has a limited upside, doesn't have a lot of upside, but that's not why I'm drafting Cole Beasley. I'm not drafting Cole Beasley to have an upside. What I'm drafting Cole Beasley is I want to use you just for 1 week, replace my starter for 1 week, and that's it. That's all I want him for, is to give me 10 points on a bye week and I'm happy. You know what I mean? That's Cole Beasley. I like Marlon Mack. I know there's been a lot of steam about Robert Turbin getting like the second string carries, but Marlon Mack's a pass catcher. He caught 80 passes at his senior year, and I think he'd get that third down role. He's actually been praised by Indianapolis, saying that he's been picking up blitzes very well. And that's going to go a long way to him getting on the field. If you could pick up blitzes on third down and you can pass protect, they're going to love that. And, Indianapolis is a team that throws to the running backs a lot, especially in the red zone. You could have a chance of some touchdowns, too, in the red zone. So that's another reason why I like him. And, Frank Gore, the wheels are going to fall off eventually. He's getting up there in age. He's like 33, 34 years old. So, Marlon Mack's a nice little deep stab. I like Latavius Murray, too, because so many people are on Dalvin Cook and not realizing that Latavius Murray got paid a lot of money. They're not going to pay Latavius Murray all that money to just not use him. So I like him as, like, you can almost get him in, like, the 14th, 15th round pretty much. Is there any, like, deep, end-of-the-roster stashes that you're looking for at the end of your drafts?
I think a good one, I got one last night with Robbie Anderson. I feel like, and you did point out a good thing. I was like, I got the top passer or the top receiver on the Jets, and you're like, no, that's Bilal Powell. But either way, I digress. He's the only one they have over there now with the injury to Enunwa. So think about it. For last-round value, you're getting a guy that could potentially be the number one wide receiver in New York.
Yeah, he's the number one receiver for the Jets. He might have 100 yards this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Some other names that I really like is I like Jason Witten. I mean, if you really want to punt on the tight end, you can scoop Jason Witten up with like one of your last picks, and he can still be your tight end one. So I'm all right with that. Shane Vereen's going to have the most fantasy points in the Giants' backfield. And I like DeAndre Washington just because we don't really know how long Marshawn Lynch will last. He could get, he's had health issues in the past. DeAndre Washington was drafted as a potential starter for that team, and you can get him as a cuff real late. So, I mean, he could have some standalone value there, too, as well. And I'm all over the New England defense just because, I mean, look who's in their division.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody. I mean,
you're getting. I normally am not a guy that will draft a defense before the last pick, but I'll do it with New England just because I know I'm getting 6 good games out of, or at least a chance at 6 good games out of them, just out of division play alone. You know what?
You surprised me with that. I was like, John, he took a defense in not the last round? I was like, this is insane. I can't believe it.
Well, there is something about just being able to just pick it and forget it. You know what I mean? Like stick it and just keep it there for a while. There's something about that, not having to worry about a defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it adds to the intrigue. It's every week, because I'm a stream of defense type of guy. And I did get a decent defense, I ended up waiting because everybody's getting defenses and backup defenses, and I'm just like, I'll keep waiting. And I got Green Bay's defense, which isn't like the best, but it's also not the worst either. And it seems like they're very prone to get turnovers, so I'm all for that. That's where your points come from.
I mean, it's not like I did anything crazy. I got the Patriots defense in like the 13th round.
Yeah, and then the whole
it just wasn't the last round.
Yeah, well, and that's just weird for you because usually it's the last round for you. But and then the kicker situation, if you're having to draft a kicker, I mean, just fuck it, man. Like get whoever like in a decent offense. It doesn't even matter. Like okay, I get it. You're gonna want Gostkowski because he plays for the Patriots. But in the end of the day, like shit, who the fuck ever. Honestly, there's so many out there. Like,
no. Honestly, if we had to choose on which, I know this is really a weird thing to talk about, but if we had to choose on which position I'd rather draft first, I'd actually rather draft a kicker before I draft a defense, to be honest, just because there's some kickers out there that will outscore tight ends. There's not a whole lot of defenses you could say the same thing about. You know what I mean?
That is true.
I think people overlook the kicker position too much.
I agree with you, but I also I do want to say though, yeah, I think that it's just stupid to do the whole backup kicker, backup defense thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No doubt.
That's stupid.
I just want to point out though that last year in standard leagues last year in PPR leagues, there is just as many kickers that scored over 100 points as there was tight ends. Granted, last year was a bad year for tight ends too, though.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yep. The reason why I felt like it was okay to take New England in the 13th round is like my team was set. Like I had a good bench already. You know what I mean? Like I'm set. I didn't need anybody. I wasn't gonna take like a backup quarterback. Like why do that?
Yeah, there's just no point for that. I mean, you know, a 10-team league, there's still plenty available on the waiver wire.
Is there anything else that you want to bring up for this show before we end it?
No, I'm pretty good. I think we did a pretty good coverage. Nice light show. I like it.
Yeah, Fifth Downers, we are almost to the anal of the season. We have some football this week, yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think they said something about they may cancel the game in Miami due to a hurricane or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I also heard someone also told me, I forget, it was someone who was my friend. I know that. But they said that they might move the game to Thursday. So looks like we'll have some football, you know?
Yeah, I mean, either way, we're definitely getting football this weekend, and I'm excited about that. I don't know how I feel about my team this year, but I'm just excited for fantasy to start again because, you know, I've got 4 leagues going this year, and I'm pretty excited. I think that this league that we drafted
only have 4 leagues going.
I wish
I only had 4 leagues going.
Hey, man, that sounds like a personal problem because, you know what, honestly, man, last year I had 8 leagues, and it was fucking hard. It was gut-wrenching having to manage all of them. So I made myself a deal. I was like, I'm not going to be in any more than 5 in the season. Just can't do it anymore.
Dude, I'm a fucking addict, dude. I'm in too many leagues right now.
Hold on. Did I hear you right? You said 20 leagues?
No, not 20. Not that many. I'm in 6. I'm even right now. I have 6 dynasty, 6 redraft, and I also have one where it's like a season long DFS style. Obviously, I'm also in the Scott Fish Bowl.
Jesus, dude, you need to have like 10 computers or something like that for all this shit.
I think all together it's like 12, 13 leagues, something like that. So I mean, I'm sorry. There's nothing. There's nothing I can do about it. I have a problem that I won't fix.
Well, hopefully we'll make it so that you don't pay as much attention in our league so that I can win it.
And also, you know, Fifth Downers, I accepted a little gig with the Dynasty Football Factory. I will be doing some redraft writing for the fantasy football cog. So look out for some new articles coming from the Dynasty Football Factory.
Check that out.
Yeah, I know it's funny because when I just randomly just sent them an article through an email, and I wasn't expecting anything. I was just doing it more of just like okay, I'm not going to expect anything back. And like literally like a few hours later, they wanted to like set up like a phone interview and call me, and then they're telling me like, oh yeah, the guys couldn't even look at your article because they said they'd be too biased, so we decided just to call you instead. You want to be part of the factory? And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, Fifth Downers, Wednesday we'll do our matchup breakdowns, our starts and sits, and it'll be magical. We are in season mode. We are back in season mode. It feels like it took so long, but we're finally back. All right. That'll do it for today's show. I'd like to thank you, Fifth Downers, for taking the time to listen to this. If you enjoyed our show, please go on to iTunes and leave us a rate and review. I'm going to start reading these fuckers. I know they're building up, and I'm going to read them, and I'm going to try to pronounce people's last names, and it's going to be funny because I can't read. All right. Thank you, Fifth Downers. Have a nice night.